Astros/Houston/Texans fans have reason to be happy today as the World Series shifts back to their city, but they have a crap team playing in the local football stadium, and they're 1-6-1 right now. Look, they found something in Dameon Pierce. I mentioned 139 rushing yards last night for him, a career high. And he runs with power, he runs with speed, he runs with determination, and he's still playing hard even though the team is not good. But they got to do something at quarterback, obviously. They decided to give Davis Mills a season to see what he could do. The same kind of vibe last year with Jalen Hurts. Let's give him a season and see what he can do. Sometimes you only find out when you see what the guy can do. And Davis Mills isn't getting it done. The team's not winning, and they're going to be in position, Peter, to have a pretty significant spot in the draft. And they didn't have to try to tank to get there. It's just kind of nature taking its course. But that's where the hope is for the Texans. Yeah, they've got some players who will flash from time to time, but they are one of the teams jockeying for position at the top of the draft. And you know, as long as you don't admit that you're tanking, you're just kind of, and it's not like, you're not tanking if you're trying your best with what you have to win, and you just keep losing and losing and losing and losing. And they weren't embarrassed last night, and they really haven't been, a laughing stock. They're just losing games. And if this continues, they'll be in a position where they can get a Josh Allen, a Jalen Hurts, a Patrick Mahomes, or another Deshaun Watson. In a good way.
Mike, there's a bunch of little tributaries about that thought, but the first one I would say is that, look, not only is Houston destined for a top 3 pick in this draft and maybe a top 1 pick in this draft, but they also have Cleveland's pick in the 2023 NFL first round. So what that means is, let's say for the sake of argument, that another team has the first pick in the draft, and there is a golden boy quarterback. And look, I don't know which one of these quarterbacks is going to shake out as the number 1 guy, but, it very well could be that Houston not only will have a high pick, but then will have a second top 10 pick, depending on what happens to the Cleveland Browns. And look, I don't know where the Browns are going to end up. I doubt they're going to make the playoffs. We'll see. We'll see what they're playing for when Deshaun Watson comes back to begin playing in games a month from now. But there's one other little factor that's kind of interesting at the top of the draft. And not only, are they going to be in good position, but what about the Detroit Lions? Do the Detroit Lions strongly consider a quarterback high in this draft? And keep this in mind. The Lions have the last tentacle of the Jared Goff trade, Matthew Stafford trade. They have the Rams one in the 23 draft. So I would ask you, Mike, right now, who's going to have a higher draft choice or a higher draft position, the Browns or the Rams? We can all sit here and say, the Browns for sure. And I think it's probably true, but I don't think that's a lock right now. So
no, they almost have the same record right now.
Yeah, and both of these teams right now, Houston and Detroit, you have to consider, along with a lot of other teams like Carolina, but there are going to be a lot of teams that are going to be in competition to take quarterbacks high in this draft, because I think Detroit probably is going to look at this draft and they're going to say, hey, listen, we know we paid a lot for Goff. He's had some moments, but this could be our last chance to be in the top 3 or whatever it is, in a draft, in a year when the quarterback crop is pretty good. Just because we're not positive that whether Goff is the guy of the future or not, should we not pick one? So I think that is going to be, we know Houston, unless something really weird happens, is very likely to pick one. We know Carolina is very likely to pick one. And if Detroit continues to stumble the way it has, I won't be surprised if Detroit makes up that 3 teams in the top 5 of the draft that are really battling and jockeying for position to take the quarterback.
And then you could possibly have the Jaguars sink into that top spot. They have Trevor Lawrence. It's too early to say he's not the guy. They could get a king's ransom and then some if you can set up an auction among the Lions, the Texans, the Panthers, who's going to trade up to this spot that we hold. Some fascinating wrinkles that the Texans are going to be right in the middle of if they can manage to keep doing what they've been doing through the first 2 months of the season. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.